Okay, so we're live again. Gosh, amazing, guys. Look who's here. I see a picture of Rosa Mourinho. That's nice. We got Olivia Bonet. Anyway, that's just what I see in my screen. Yeah. Welcome, guys. It's what is it today? 13th of August, I think. 8 o'clock. I'm really sorry. I just came in like very, very last minute. Had to cancel the meeting and just rush up the stairs, go to the webinar room. So we're gonna do things really, really off the cuff tonight. But having said that, that doesn't mean that you're not gonna get any value for your time. So what we're gonna cover tonight is stress and anxiety. And I wanna show you exactly why that happens, where is this coming from, and how can you fix that. Now, before we go there, the chat is wide open. I'm gonna just have a look who of you guys are actually here. We're on Facebook tonight, we're on Instagram, we're on Zoom, and we're on YouTube. So what I can see in my computer is you guys being here on Zoom. So once again, welcome. It's great to have you. My name is Erik. There is another person in the chat to help out. Her name is Dita. So we are colleagues. I'm happy to have Dita again here. We used to work together for a long time, and she got promoted, did some other stuff. Now she became very, very good in marketing. And but I'm happy that she's here to help me and support me here tonight. Yeah. So first question to you guys, just a little bit of a warm-up question. Where are you from, and what brought you to this webinar tonight? So if you could put something in the chat, where are you from? And what brought you to this webinar tonight? Now, in the meantime, okay, so we have the first responder, that is Kyle. Welcome, Kyle, great to have you again. And then we have, let me see, we got Adam, we got Angela, we got Bea, and then we got Chen, we got Crystal. Let me put myself a little bit more on the camera for you guys. Let me just move my my screen a little bit. Crystal, Harry, Daksha. We got Elena. Do we have a still image, Dita, or is it okay? Then we have Kremena Todorova, Kyle, Lou, Mia, Minnie, Olivia, Oq. I hope I pronounced that correct. Oq. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Rosa Mourinho, and we got Samantha. Okay, guys, welcome. That's great. So let's have a look. Bea from the Netherlands. Okay, goedenavond, Bea. It's nice to have you. All right, we got Rosa Mourinho from Spain, also living in the Netherlands. Hola, Rosa, ¿qué tal? Estoy muy alegre que estés aquí. And then we got Olivia, right, living in Ireland from France. Très bien, ça. Bienvenue. Okay, so we got Mia from Hong Kong. Wow. That's amazing. We got Minnie from the East Midlands in the UK. Beautiful, guys. All right. Samantha from Poland. All right. So that's a very, very mixed number of people coming from everywhere. A few Irish. So you probably guessed it. I'm not Irish myself. I'm not English or American, Canadian, whatever. I have my background, my roots in the Netherlands, just like Bea, who happens to be here in the chat tonight. So now the other thing that I am really curious about is what brought you to this webinar. So it says stress and anxiety, how to deal with it. But is there anything specific that you are looking to better, to resolve? Is there anything that you feel like, you know, this has been going on for too long, I'm running into this again and again and again, I'm fed up with this specific thing that I'm running into, and I need some tools? Is there anything specific that you are looking for to improve in your own life? Just going to give it away already. We're going to cover tonight, what is the mind? Yeah, what is the mind? How does it work? The funny thing is, we're not going to talk about our brains. We're going to talk about the mind. So, but I'm just curious, is there anybody here who says, okay, that's the reason I'm coming here? So, Samantha, all right, let me see. Samantha, what did you have to say? Anxiety, ruining my life, overthinking every single word and action. I'm never feeling like it's good enough. All right, Samantha, thank you for sharing. And we got Olivia here as a manager to get some practical tools to help myself and my team. That's beautiful. Okay, that's cool. Many mental trauma, bereavements. Okay, well, thank you for bringing it up. All right, now, are you ready? Are you ready to learn something new tonight? Because it's going to be exciting. It's going to be very exciting. If I would ask you, do you think, just for starters, do you think that anybody actually knows what the mind really is? I'm just curious about your answer. Would it be a yes or a no? Do you think that anybody, anywhere, really knows what the mind really is, what it does, and how it works? Just curious. Give me a yes or no, please. You think that anybody really knows what the mind really is, how it works? Do you think that some people do know this? Let's pop that in fast. Just yes or no. That's good enough. I'm just curious about your answers. Do you think that people actually do know what the mind is, or do you think that it's not known? So a yes or a no. And then we're going to dive into it. No. All right, so we get the first no here. Good. So. Pain in the derrière. Ah, c'est très bien ça. Okay. Yes. Okay. So a bit mixed feelings here. Yeah. Some people would say yes. Some people would say no. Popping up thoughts coming from external and internal. All right. Now, without further ado, do you remember, let's say, the 80s and the 90s, and we had dads going around with these camcorders, right? And they would actually do whole films. They would put their whole family on film, so to speak. Like daddy or granddaddy, he was filming the kids at the barbecue, and now he was filming at the family at the seashore, and so on. And then the camcorder would actually get connected to the TV, and you could replay the whole recording. That is what your mind does. Your mind records everything that you experience. That's number one. It's a recording machine. You could call it a machine, you could call it a device, you could call it an entity, but it is something that records everything that you experience. And number two, you can replay it. Just going to let you in what the mistake is there in the mind. Some of these moments, they go onto an automatic replay. More on that to come. Now, what do we mean by recordings? Let's do a very fast interaction between me and you guys. I'm going to ask a question. Please pop the answer in the chat right away. Now, here's the question. Do you remember primary school? Yes or no? And if I would say primary school, do you get a picture, for example, of the playground? Do you get a picture of the school itself? Can you get a picture of the classroom? Right? Can you get these pictures? All right. So we see a whole bunch of yeses. Right. These are recordings. Yeah. Your mind actually makes recordings. And that's the first proof. Here's your body. All right. And your mind makes recordings. So let's say your mind would consist of a whole bunch of recordings. It's like one big long film. You've been recording your entire life. It doesn't matter if you were awake, if you were asleep, if you were in a coma, if you were unconscious. It's all recorded. Now, mind you, just when I say when you're in a coma, when you're unconscious, there are beliefs that we do not make any recordings. That is, however, not true. We do keep on recording all the time. That can be proven. So now, first thing, let's call a spade, and let's just call these mental pictures. Okay, so now let's inspect these pictures a little bit more. What I would like you to do is, I guess most of you guys are at this moment not sitting in your kitchen. You're probably in your bedroom, in your living room, or one of those rooms. I suppose you're not in the kitchen. If you are in the kitchen, then I'm going to ask you to imagine sitting in a different kitchen. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to imagine right now that you are sitting in the kitchen. Okay, just imagine that. Just imagine that you're sitting in the kitchen. And you probably get a picture again. Now, here's going to be a funny drill for you to do. Just please do this at home. I cannot see what you're doing, but just put this thing to the test. Just put this thing to the test. What I'd like you to do is, from the place where you're sitting in your imagination, I would like you to point out with your index finger, where is the fridge? Just go ahead and point it out. So you could even close your eyes and say, well, the fridge would be on my right-hand side. I see it over there. Just go ahead and point it out for yourself. If you have that, then point out where's the cooker. Just go ahead and point it out. From where you're sitting, where would the cooker be? All right, now, the next one should be easy. Where's the table? Most of you is probably like, okay, it's right in front of me. Now, if you see the table, can you see its dimensions? Can you see the color? Can you see its height? Okay, now let's find the window. Let's find the nearest window. Imagine you're sitting in that kitchen. Where's the nearest window from you? Just point it out. Good. Now let's find a door. Maybe there's more than one door. Just point them out. Where would they be? So, who was able, I'm going to ask you quickly, who was able to do this? Who was able to imagine himself being in the kitchen and then find all these objects and point them out? Who was able to do that? Yep, Samantha says yep. Okay, did you like that drill, Samantha? It's a funny one, I suppose. Anybody else? Vinny, yes. Okay, OQ, yes. All right, beautiful. Good. Now, some of you guys might have had vivid pictures where you could actually see, okay, the fridge is white, right? The counter is brown, for example, right? And the cooker, the plate is, let's say it's aluminium or chromium or whatever, right? You might actually have seen pictures, colors. Some of you may not have seen pictures. That doesn't mean that there's no recording, because you have a knowingness. You do know where these things are. Even though you would not be able to see anything in that room, you would still say, well, the fridge is over here, the table is right there, the window is behind me, the door is to my left. In other words, it tells you there's a recording there. So what does it tell you? These mental images are 3D. Those are three-dimensional mental pictures. Okay, now, here is a fun fact, because we have been taught that these pictures are in the brain. This is what we have been taught. Now, there's a lot of things that they're trying to convey to us, that it's all in the brain. However, I'm going to put things very, very straight. If you bring your car to a garage, nobody's going to tell you, come back in 10 years and we'll have your car fixed. That's not going to happen. If it would happen, you tell them you probably have no idea what a car is. You probably don't know what you're talking about. No mechanic needs 10 years to fix my car. In mental health, however, that is very common. You come in with an anxiety, with a depression, with ups and downs, with what have you, and 10 years later of treatment, that condition is almost still the same. Might have gone a little bit improvement, might have gone some deterioration, but it's almost still the same. In other words, we don't have something that is really working over there, because there has been a lot of focus on the brain, which is a chemical thing, right? Now, your mind has got nothing to do with something that you can hold or touch. Your mind is ethereal. Your mind is immaterial. You can't touch that stuff. Whereas your brain's got mass. You can probably see the difference. Your brain's got mass, and your pictures, your mental images, your mental pictures, they got no mass. They got no substance. Now, here's a fun fact. If we look at these pictures again and we see that these pictures are three-dimensional, you would say, well, the table is right here, the fridge is over there, the cooker is over there. You did not point inside your brain. You did not say, well, the fridge is here, and the table is in the middle of my head, and the door is in the back of my head, and the window is next to my temple. You didn't do that. In other words, we can right away see that mind and brain are two distinct entities. Your brain controls the body. Your mind does something else entirely. Remember, your mind is a recording machine. It records all of your experiences throughout your life. Good? So, now, having said that, so we need a workable method when it comes to the mind. Now, have you ever heard that we only use 10% of our potential? Have you ever heard that? Just asking you, have you ever heard this quote? It's probably a quote from Albert Einstein, who said, we're only using 10% of our potential. Have you heard this? Who is familiar with that quote? You ever heard, we're only using 10% of our potential? I'm just curious if some of you guys have actually heard this quote before. See, what's the time? 2020. Okay, all right. Olivia, you're probably coming up first with the answer. You say yes. Maybe some of you have actually heard this quote. Maybe not. Now, would it seem logical? Would it make sense to you if somebody told you you're only using 10%? Would that make sense to you? You don't have to answer right away, but just let it sink in. Could it be possible that you're only using 10%? Now, if you would agree to that, then you would right away say, okay, but if I only use 10%, that means I'm not using 90%, correct? If you're only using 10%, that means you're not using 90%. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you, do you know how you can tell that you are not using 90% of your capacities, that you're not using 90% of your potential? Do you know how you can tell that? What is the thing that shows that we're not using our full potential? What is it? Any clues? I'm just going to wait here for half a minute. I heard we use small part of our brain. Okay, IQ, that's good. Restrictions, economy, all right. Cool. Good. So, you can realize ourselves. Okay, now, I'm going to give you the answer. Thank you, huh? I'm going to give you the answer. The way you can tell that you're not using your 90%, the way you can tell that is that you want to do things in life and you don't do them. Does that make sense? There's things you want to do and you don't do it. I'll give you a simple example. You're 7 years old, you're in primary school, the teacher is putting something on the board and you go like, huh? I don't get it. And you look around and the other kids seem to get it, but you don't get it. And you want to raise your hand and ask the question, could you please explain that to me? But something is holding you back. And you don't dare to raise your finger, raise your hand, and ask the question. Something is holding you back. Now, maybe you grew a little bit older, you got 20 years old, you went to a disco, you went to a bar, and then there was the prince on the white horse, or the girl of your dreams. And you're like, I gotta talk to this person. So I just need to have another cocktail. I need to have another drink before I can approach this person and talk to him or her. Something was holding you back. Right? So there's a mechanism in the mind, we're going to cover that in a moment. There's a mechanism in the mind that holds you back. There's a bug there, so to speak. Something that holds you back. Now, likewise, there is something there that pushes you, that impulses you to do the things that you don't want, that you regret, that you blame yourself for, that you find discreditable about yourself. So there's a bug in the mind that keeps you from doing the things that you want to do. And that kind of like pushes you into the direction of doing things that you don't want to do. Does that make sense? Just to repeat myself, there's something in the mind that keeps you, that holds you back from doing the things that you really want to do. And that pushes you in the direction of doing things that you may regret, that you may blame yourself for, don't like yourself for. In other words, it's pushing you in the direction of things that you don't want to do. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you a very, very simple example. So here's a question again, right? Let's say here, back in time, there was a painful moment. And this painful moment was a moment of a loss. You lost a person, or let's say a pet animal, or a possession, or something that was very dear to you. So here's the question. What happens if you consciously or unconsciously or inadvertently think back of the moment of loss? What happens if you think back of the moment of loss? What is going to happen? Please put something in the chat. What is going to happen if you're going to think back for whatever reason, consciously, unconsciously, you just happen to think back of a painful emotion moment, a moment that you lost somebody, that you lost a possession, that was something that was very dear to you, or maybe it was like a cat or a dog or an animal that was very dear to you. What happens if you're being reminded of this? In other words, if you connect again with that moment. Okay, Bea says you feel pain. All right. Okay. Anybody else? Any other opinions here? What could happen? Okay, she says refrain from repeating related actions. All right, sounds good. Now, what is going to happen is that we feel the same sensations as the first time. Elsa, you nailed it. You nailed it. That is exactly what is happening. This moment here, let me take another marker. That's not great. That moment there comes to present time. I just call it PT. So basically the moment comes back to present time. And like I also said, we're going to feel the same sensations. We're going to feel the same sensations again. So let's say there was some pain. There was some pain recorded in that moment. And now we're going to feel that same pain again. Now here's a question. Here's a question. Do you want to re-experience this moment over again? Do you want to re-experience that same moment again with the same force, with the same sensation, putting you again in that same mood, making you behave again as if it's just occurring again? Do you want this to happen? Is that what you want to happen to you? A simple yes or no. So we're being reminded of a moment of pain, an emotional, painful moment. Now we're going to relive it again. And it's going to throw us in the same mood again. Let's say we were just happy. For some reason, we're being brought back to that moment. That moment comes to present time. Our happy mood drops to sadness. Our behavior changes. We wanted to do something, but now we just change our mind. Is that something that we want to happen at that moment? Just put something, if you can answer a yes or no, would you be in favor of that mechanism? Is that something that you want to have happening to yourself? Or would you say no? Is that something you want to have, or is it something that you do not want to have? Okay, Crystal says no. Elle says no. All right, definitely not. All right, so that means that we found a bug, we found an error, so to speak, in the mind. The mind has a bug, it has an error. And remember the camcorder, Daddy was doing the recording, filming the whole family, and he puts the recorder onto the TV, and he now replays the recording. Here is a moment where the replay goes on full automatic. What do I mean by full automatic? It controls you, you don't control it. Make sense? So it starts to replay by itself. That is basically the bug. That is the mistake. There's something there that it's not supposed to do. It's not supposed to replay it. It's fine if it replays it if we want it. If you feel like, well, right now, I really feel like crying. I got myself a couple of boxes of Kleenexes, and I have no other use for them. I definitely don't use any Kleenex for cleaning or whatever. I think I should just put some very, very sad music and just let it all out. If that's your choice, that is fine. But if it isn't, let's say you were in a good mood, and you got somehow reminded of a moment of a loss, and all of a sudden your mood dropped. Well, I guess most of you guys would agree you would rather stay there than go there, right? Your mood would change, but also your behavior will change. Okay, so let's analyze this a little bit more. We're going to draw another scenario. Okay, let's say this is Tom. And Tom had a dreadful experience right there. It's a different experience from the one that we just discussed. Let's say this was a couple of years ago. Tom was walking down a dark alley. See, I'm just fooling around here with my markers. I hope you can see. It's not too great, isn't it? Let me go back to the red one. So Tom, a couple of years back, Tom was going into a dark alley. All of a sudden, he has a sharp pain in his head, and he's going unconscious. He's going flat against the floor, and he's going unconscious. Now he wakes up in the hospital, not knowing where he is. And the doctors want to know who he is, if he recalls his name. He finds out his wallet is gone, his money is gone, his ID card, his bank cards, his driver's license, it's all gone. So Tom, he's very confused. This moment here has physical pain. Now, Tom has also been unconscious. And as you can imagine, that incident itself, no matter how long it took, it contains fear. Now let's imagine Tom is just carrying Tom carries that recording with him. It's in his archives, so to speak. He's just carrying that recording with him. Happened some years back. Tom right now, he's in present time. He is walking down the road, but it's night, and the road is getting more and more narrow. Starts to look like an alley. And all of a sudden, there's a power outage. The whole place goes dark. What do you think is going to happen to Tom at that moment? Just going to have a sip of water. So Tom, in other words, he's got a very bad experience. It's stored somewhere in his mind. He's got the recording of it. Now, he's in some kind of a similar situation again a couple of years later. This was in a dark alley. Walking here, all of a sudden there's a power outage. What do you think Tom's mind will do to him? Okay, Bea? The memory will call back the experience. Right. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Does it? Does that make sense for the rest of you guys? Does that make sense? What Bea says, that the memory will come back. This experience here will trigger the past memory, and the memory will come back. Does that make sense? Is that what you think is going to happen? Maybe if you have some other ideas, put something in the chat. And now, what we can see is that in this moment in time here, there is a certain force. And all these things have been recorded. The fear is part of the package. The confusion is part of the package. The person is in physical pain. That is part of the package, right? He went unconscious. That is part of the package. So, when this recording gets reactivated, it now comes to present time, and it's going to control Tom. It's going to control him with that same force. And he's now going to act, think, and behave in ways very similar to what happened here. I'll give you a very, very practical example, and most of you would have experienced this. So let's say you have to speak in public. Maybe you have done this in school, maybe you had to do this for a job, right? Maybe you had to do this at work. But let's say you had to speak in public in front of a group of people. Now, there's a number of things that you probably observed. Number one, your heart was pounding. You probably had that butterfly feeling in your stomach. You had the knot in your stomach, right? You had this funny feeling in your stomach. Then, oh, maybe Dita, you can help me. I just lost my Zoom. Then the next thing that you could see is that maybe you're trying to hold your paper still, but you couldn't. You were just shaking all over. Your legs went kind of limp. They were became unstable. You felt you had no strength in your body. There was definitely some kind of a force controlling your body, right? You got a dry throat. You felt like you had to drink and to drink and to drink, but it wouldn't resolve the dry throat. You've probably seen this. Now, at the same time, you had like a shut off of your memories, and you found it very, very hard to concentrate and actually find the stuff that you wanted to say. You've been there? You've probably seen that, right? So people refer to that as a complete sabotage. There's something there that sabotages your body, but it also sabotages your memories. So something there takes over, and it sabotages your body, and it sabotages your thoughts. So at that moment, your mood and your behavior will change as if you are re-experiencing that. All right, so that means now we know the mechanism more or less. It simply means that the mind identifies a bad experience from the past with something that is somehow a bit similar in present time. So if you get any of these sensations which you do not want, then it means that your mind is throwing that stuff at you. And we do that all the time. It runs on full automatic. I'm going to give you another example. Let's say here, somebody makes you a financial proposal. It says, well, Monica, you're the last one who replied, and I'd say, Monica, here, I got this fantastic offer for you. Look, this is my bank statement. Look how much money I made. You know, go to the bank, get yourself a loan, I will invest it for you. And you go like, man, this is too good to be true. But yeah, he showed me his bank statements. I want to be rich. I'm going to do the same. So you're going to go to the bank and you get a loan. You give all that money to this new friend, and he is going to invest it for you, supposedly. A couple of days later, you try to call the person. The number does no longer exist. You discover you've just been scammed. Now you have a loan on top. As if it wasn't enough yet, you're in more trouble. So you have a bad experience. Okay. Now let's say a couple of years go by, and somebody approaches you and makes you a financial offer. What is your mind going to tell you? Well, your mind's going to tell you, been there, done that, I'm not going to do it again. What it teaches you is that we're not even looking at the situation. We're instantly being reminded of the bad experience. Now, here's the thing. With these mental experiences, we have these mental images, but they're not tangible. You cannot touch them. So you have the appearance that there's nothing there. But there is something there because you can experience it again. That's where the difficulty is. So you can't really see it right away when you're not aware of the incident, but yet the incident can affect you and you can re-experience it again with a mood change and a behavior change. And now you're not going to do something that potentially could be beneficial for you. Let's say there's nothing wrong with this alley. You could just cross. Let's say the second person who makes you a financial offer is actually genuine and is the real deal. Now, your mind tells you to not go ahead and not do it. You get to see a bit of the similarity between stress and anxiety, because it follows the same mechanism. If we don't want to be in a certain mood, if we don't want to be in a certain behavior, well, it must, by definition, be that we are replaying a part of our own recordings without knowing so. So once again, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling anxious, right, and you don't want that, that means that force, you're re-experiencing that force, you are reliving, replaying a recording that you have somewhere in your mind, but that you are not aware of. Just checking the time here, we still have 10 minutes. Now, so far, do I make any sense here? Can you follow this? Does this make any sense to you? Before we go to the next step. The sound's gone quiet. Okay, all right, Monica, sound's gone quiet. I hope it's better right now. So Adam, you were able to follow this, right? Okay, Monica, can you let me know if the sound is better? Otherwise, maybe, just maybe, you need to go out and log in again. I hope not. That wouldn't be fantastic. But and for other people, for the others, that's the whole mechanism. So we're talking about a mechanism in the mind. Does that make sense? You're in a certain situation, and just all of a sudden, a bad experience from the past can go into an automatic replay and suddenly change your mood and behavior. Most of the time, you're not even aware that you're doing this. That makes sense? Then you probably want to know, well, how do I fix it? So first of all, here is the reason that you're not using the 90%. There's the reason. There's the force, and by this automatic replay, you're going to decide to not go into the dark alley. You're going to decide to not go ahead with the financial proposal. You're going to be stressed when you do your exam. You're going to be stressed when you're sitting in front of the recruiter for a recruitment interview. You're going to have these sensations, not knowing where they're coming from. Something gets triggered in the environment. It activates some kind of recording. That recording now puts you under pressure. It makes sense? And once that recording is activated, it can remain activated and basically keep you under pressure. You can probably tell I am not myself, but I don't know what's happening. There's something happening to me. I don't feel myself. There's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. There's a mechanism in the mind that is going on automatic replay, making you feel certain emotions, making you having certain feelings, and you don't know where they're coming from. All right? Now, would you like to know what is the solution? Would you like to know how we can improve things? In other words, how do you get rid of that automatic mechanism so you can just simply be? Be free. Be free to be what you want to be, or be free to do what you want to do, or be free to have what you want to have without being affected by some kind of a bug that goes into automatic replay that you don't know what of. Yeah. Bea, yeah? I guess you want to reset, right? I guess you want to reset. Yeah. Now, I'm going to tell you something very fascinating. The mind is able to resolve the problems of the mind. It's quite unique. A car cannot fix itself. An engine cannot fix itself. The mind, however, can fix itself. When we re-examine these recordings, then we will discover something that we did not know about. There was a certain content in there that we did not know about. And because there was something about it that we didn't know, for that reason, it can now affect us. And by coming to know what is in there, we can actually erase the force over us And we can erase the fact that it's controlling us. Once we know what's in there, we control that. This one doesn't control us anymore. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you a quick rendition how that could work. So first of all, if we have a look at the mind, you could say you could roughly distinguish two types of mind. One is analytical. And the other one is, you could say, subconscious. Your analytical mind contains a long film with all these recordings. And all these recordings you can actually look at. These are simply memories that would contain the memory of primary school, that would contain what you left on your desk today, when you left work. It would contain where you put your keys when you come home. These are all analytical recordings. The subconscious contains moments of pain, which is emotional pain, and physical pain. And it also contains moment of unconsciousness. So let's say if you're born, that is a moment of pain and unconsciousness. That is an incident. And if you are undergoing surgery in the hospital, that's a moment of pain and unconsciousness. That is an incident. If you lose somebody suddenly, that produces a sudden shock. You're going to lose some vitality. That is an incident. If you have the door closing on your fingers, or you burn your hand on the stove, that's a moment of pain and a little drop in consciousness. So now we got this mind. And then we got this mind. And both of them will give you data. This mind just uses force. And that one is the big culprit for the 90% that just stops you. The only thing it does, it stops. And this one here will just simply give you solutions. Where did I leave my keys today? Ah, over here. And you find the key. So the trick here is to find out what are the specific incidents in the subconscious, which can be found nowadays with a new technology. And by coming to know what is in there, this whole part no longer affects us. That means that 90% of all the stops, all the limitations that you feel, the stress that you feel, the anxiety, the worry, the lack of confidence, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm not cut out for this, oh no, my sister can do this, but I'm not good at doing that, and so on, is all coming from there. Every thought that you have about yourself that you feel that you cannot be, that you cannot do, is simply coming from here. That part of your mind will never tell you that you cannot do anything. It will simply tell you the key is over there. This one will tell you there is no key, or it's impossible to have a key, or a key always means trouble, or a key equals an accident. It just has this automatic stupidity built in. So you don't need that. That's kind of like an animal type of mind. Look at a chicken, see how a chicken behaves. Okay, good. Do I need this kind of intelligence? No. So if we clear that up, then we're actually going to move towards using our full potential. So how do you do that? There is a method. There is a method which is called auditing. Which comes from the word audi, which means to listen. So you would have an auditor, and you would have somebody who is on his way to get rid of his subconscious mind. The auditor, with a certain procedure, would help this person to look into his mind and locate the incident that is producing the anxiety, the stress, the discomfort, and so on. This person would then get the person to become more aware of what is actually in there. This person would help the person to raise the awareness by actually recounting that incident, even though it's not available to the memory, like a surgery, and the person is completely in a coma, but the recording is still there. And whatever is there in the recording can actually be found again. There's more about that in the book that I'm going to show you in a moment. It tells you exactly how the whole procedure works. Now, I see we're basically coming to the end of time, like 9 o'clock. But you can imagine, if that part of your recordings, which are not doing you any good in the first place, because they're just forcing you, let's imagine that with a specific method, you can actually erase this whole thing here. Now, you don't have that force any longer that holds you back. In other words, you have to speak in public. Well, what do you know? You can just hold the paper still. Right? Your heart is not pounding. You can access your memory and say, okay, what I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to talk about that, talk about that. Right? You're not transpiring, you're not sweating, you don't have a dry throat. In other words, the force factor is gone out of your system. The anxiety stomach is gone. So it's been discovered what that is, and it's been discovered how to get it out of your system. That's super great, because right now, that means if it's gone, you can now be comfortable or feel comfortable in doing what you want to do without having the feeling that something is holding you back, that something is limiting you. When you get rid of that, as you can imagine, your IQ will just shoot up. I'm going to throw away some markers, guys. Your IQ will just shoot up. It easily goes to 140 or above. Now, you're not going to be under stress so much more because it's gone. So your mood your mood is going to be much better. Your outlook to life, it's going to be quite positive. That means you're going to be a magnet for other people. You will attract a lot of good things simply because of your positivity. Now, since that stress factor is gone, which has been putting your body out of balance, easily making you sick, making you roller coaster, making you feel ill, and all these things, if that's gone, then your health is going to improve a lot. Okay, so how can we do this? So basically, I'm sorry, like we only had like 50 minutes or so to give you a bit of a rendition what the mind really is, right? Ideally, you get a whole lot more data. You should. If you want to improve yourself, the remedy is really to get data. The data itself, the information itself on how this works, can be very therapeutical. Because maybe for a long time you've been thinking like, well, why does this come from? Why is this happening to me? How come I feel this way? What can I do about it? So these are all question marks. But I imagine that these question marks can turn into real answers. That you say, gosh, I finally understand something about myself. I finally understand where this is coming from. I finally understand what I can do about it right now. Well, I can tell you that information is actually just there for you. So I want to show you a book where I'm actually getting the information from. And that is this book. Let me see. That's this book. It's called Dianetics. That means dia comes from Greek, meaning through. Netics from the Greek word nous, meaning mind. In other words, through the mind. Dianous didn't sound much English, right? So it was transcribed as Dianetics, meaning through the mind, what the mind does to you and your body. It is a modern science of mental health. By science, we mean knowledge. But what is knowledge good for? Good for? Knowledge is good for application, and from application you get results. So this is a book about the mind that you can actually apply, and that will give you results. That's what it's all about. Now, there is no other book on the planet that gives a better description of what the mind is, what the subconscious mind is, what is in there, what is holding you back, and how to fix it than this book. There's no other book that comes even close. The only book that will give you a full description of what the mind is, what it is that holds you back, that's causing you stress and anxiety and all these other unwanted feelings, and how to fix that. It's also the book that tells you where your 90% is. Okay, it's a very unique book. It's got a glossary here in the back. You can see that little carving in there. So that it's a book with its own dictionary, so to say. It's got all the words defined. The first part here is all about what is the mind, how does it work, and so on. The second part is full of examples on what can you do to fix yourself, to make improvements. Now, the book has sold more than 22 million copies. That's how big it is. And you can literally get it from Arabic to Zulu. You could get it in Portuguese. You could also get it in Brazilian Portuguese. You could get it in, any popular language. You can get it in Chinese, in traditional Chinese. You can get it in Farsi, in Urdu, in German, French, Italian, you name it. It's available in all these languages. And so I just want to recommend this book to you tonight. We have it with free shipping. It's 20 euros. And this is knowledge for life. If you would decide tomorrow to go to a hamburger restaurant and spend 20 euros on food, well, that might just be good for a day, and it's going to end up in the sewer the next day. If you spend 20 euros on that book, you have knowledge that is going to be beneficial to you for the rest of your life. This is life-changing stuff. That's what I wanted to tell you tonight. Let me see. We're 8 minutes over 9. At this point, is there any specific question that you have? And I think, okay, Dita already put the link there. That's great. Maybe I should just zip my mouth for a moment. You can have a look. Okay, Ine says, thank you. Lovely. Thank you. Now, what I can do, I think my telephone number is on the shelf, Dita. I'm correct. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you my WhatsApp number. As I can imagine, like we had 1 hour, right? So we had to cram in as much data as we could in that single hour. As you can imagine, there is much more data. And maybe you want to know more. Maybe you have a specific question. Maybe there's something that you're dealing with. So, well, Erik, would this work in this situation? Would that work for me? Or I have a friend, and would that work for him? So in the book, exactly, yeah, I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on that, Mia. Yeah, but in the book you have the solution. Yeah, the book, first of all, is very therapeutical because it will give you information that you've probably been looking for a long time. How does my mind work? What is it that causes me stress? What is it that makes me feel limited in doing the things I want to do? How come I don't feel free to be myself? What is the optimum me? What is the best me that I could actually go for? How much better can I get? All that stuff is in the book. And I'm just going to let you in on something that really fascinated me. Before I started with that book and the method and the procedure, I could not make phone calls. That was like a phobia for me. I would not call even a hairdresser to make an appointment. I was in sales, but I could not do cold calls and call, let's say, companies and people that I did not know. It would produce so much stress and anxiety. It would change my mood and my behavior so much that even though if I wanted to, I would still turn away from it and not do it. So I would limit my own success. And then, of course, I was engaging in doing the stuff that I didn't want to do, that I would hate myself for. I would drink just to go to sleep, to unstress. And it became like a daily routine because I had no answers to my problems. And these problems just aggravated. And I can tell you, if you don't do anything about it, it will not change. You can hope for the better, but that subconscious mind is overpowering you, is stronger than you, that even if you think that in 10 years from now, in 20 years from now, it's going to be different, I can promise you it won't. It'll just get worse instead. Things don't stay the same. Life is going to throw more things at you, and you're going to go lower and lower and lower and lower. Because that subconscious mind is just going to soak it up and accumulate more and more and more, and now throw it back at you. So you don't want that. Now, the first thing that would be the first remedy is to get understanding. Why does that happen? Where does it come from? How do I fix it? That is what you're going to get out of that book. It's going to tell you exactly where it comes from. Once you read it, I'll guarantee you're going to be blown away. And you're going to feel relief just because now you understand something that you did not understand before. When you get to the practical part, and when you get to the part that tells you how much better you can get, you're probably going to have a very strong desire to say, I want to try this. If I can get that much better, I want to try this. All right. Are there any further questions, guys? So I think there's a free shipping offer up till 10 o'clock. It's probably like 9:15 here. So in the next 45 minutes, if you want that, you can actually get free shipping. Did you open the link, Dita, by any chance? Because otherwise, I think I can actually offer you a gift as well. No, okay. So for the first 3 buyers tonight, I'm going to personally make sure that if you get the book, you're going to get a free audiobook and a free ebook. So even when you're doing your dishwashing, when you're doing the cleanup or whatever, you can still listen to it. The ebook is so fabulous that when you read it, the words which are in the glossary will automatically highlight. You can click on them and you can right away see what is the meaning of that word. So for anybody who's interested, the book is 20 euros. When we take it into pounds, 17, 18 pounds, free shipping. I will toss in for you, as my promise, a free ebook and audiobook. That is a 65 euros value, just for you to know. All right, guys, I think you have my WhatsApp number as well. Feel free to text me anytime. For those of you who live in Dublin, we have a very, very special lecture, talk, workshop coming up, which is called Have You Lived Before This Life? It's going to be very interesting. We're going to show films. We're going to explain things, and that's coming up on the 26th, a Tuesday evening in Dublin 24. All right, guys, thank you so much. It's been great to have you. Thank you for your participation. Lovely. I hope to see you again next week or anytime soon. Bye for now.